So, is there anyone that wants to go first that would feel excited to go first on the panel? Great, Sarah.
Yeah, I'm happy to go first. Um, Hi, so my name is Sarah Jane Sandy, and I am a functional nutritionist. So my business, I work primarily with women's health. My niche is really around fertility and pregnancy, postpartum, and women's hormone health that has nothing to do with fertility, but all of the many women who have hormonal disruptions, whether that's PMS or endometriosis or fibroids or, ovarian cysts or acne or you name it, where they just know their hormones are off. So that's my world that I work with. That Micah and Wink super helped me get focused on. So, before I started Wink, I like legitimately really didn't have a business. Like I'd been doing like, working with clients one-on-one as a nutritionist for like 7 years at that point, but I didn't really have a business. And I didn't realize I didn't have a business until I went through Wink, where I was like, oh, got it. Like I've just been sort of, I don't even know, flying by the seat of my pants, but I didn't know anything about like tracking revenue or how to get new clients or marketing, or like I just was not in that mindset at all. My one-on-one sessions with Micah were like so amazing because she really helped me just like dial that in and get really specific around niche. Like I think I was scared of specifying who my real ideal client was, because I thought then that I would like not have enough business and I would be saying no to potential customers and clients. With once the opposite happened actually, where once I got very specific around, okay, these are the women that I work with, like this is my ideal customer and client, all of a sudden my business just like grew exponentially. Because just like myself, and I'm sure everyone here, when you are looking for a practitioner, you want, for your specific issue, you want to work with a practitioner that specializes in your specific issue. If you're trying to get pregnant, you want to work with someone who that's what they do day in and day out, is help women and couples get pregnant. You don't want to work with someone who like works with people who have, knee pain and like diabetic and, a million things. Because what I realized was like, as a practitioner, I could never know all of those things super well. So really like honing in was amazing and like, a game changer for my business, big time. And so not only did I not have a business, but I wasn't making any money, like at all. Like I look back at my income and I was like, how did I even live? I don't even know. I was not making any money. So learning how to really build my business and incorporate all the systems that Wink teaches about was such a game changer. Learning how to track my revenue was a really, like, knowing exactly where money was coming in and where money was going out was huge. And then the biggest game changers for me, as I look now, it's been 7 years since I did Wink. Within 1 year after doing Wink, my income doubled easily. Now it's like, I think when we calculate, it was like 195% growth rate increase, which I like never run those numbers, which is amazing just to look back and see. And I'm working less now than I've ever worked. I just had a baby 8 months ago. So I have like, I didn't know that. Yeah, I had a baby. So I'm a new mom. And so I work like, I mean, 10 hours a week. We have a nanny 10 hours a week. And I am making way more money now working 10 hours a week than I was working at 3 different clinics, paying office rent 6 days a week, like, clients back to back to back. And I get to like be with my son. I get to be home and still make more money than I was making before. And that's, I think, attributed to passive income, one, which Micah really helped me nail and dial in, which was I developed online products that are like evergreen products that, are constantly like pulling women in without my one-on-one time. I really focus on like additional sort of like add-on products, like obviously nutrition supplements and labs and, you know, affiliates. And I just figured out how to really, really help women that did not require all my one-on-one time, which was a game changer. And I hired an assistant who does all of the things that I do not enjoy, that I am not good at, and that I don't have time for. And that's been a game changer, because I pay her to do the things in my business that like aren't my shtick, and I get to do what I'm really, really good at and really, really enjoy, which is working with women one-on-one. So that's been huge, and it's like reflected in terms of my time and my income and my pleasure in my work. So yeah, WINC was like a total game changer for me.
Oh my gosh, you're so inspiring.
Thank you.
You are so inspiring. Holy cow. Thank
Oh,
you so much, Sarah.
absolutely. Thanks for having me on here. Yeah, feels really good.
Oh, I have one question for you right off
Yeah.
the bat, which is around your assistant.
Yep.
Do you feel like you needed to get to a certain place in your business where you had figured a lot out before you hired assistant?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I hired her, and let's see, now maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And for a long time, one, I didn't think I could justify the cost. And two, I hadn't figured out my business yet.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I hired her, and I hired her, like, I remember a friend and I, another entrepreneur, like women-owned business owner who's a good friend, we shared her like minimal hours. And, you know, 5 years later, she's still with me, has literally helped me like build my brand identity. She like knows my brand voice. And, but yes, I had to get to a place where I had a business, I had a brand that I could like conceptualize, and that I actually had things that I knew needed to be designated off of my plate. But I had to figure that all out first, because I didn't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Mhm.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I want to hear from you more, but we'll get the interest from the rest of the ladies.
Totally.
Thank you
Yep.
so much, Sarah. So this is a great example of Sarah was one of the earliest women that worked with WINC. Like she was back in like, I think 2013 or 14. Christina is on the other end of the spectrum, and she just worked with us 2 years ago. So we'll do these kind of bookends here. And Christina, we would love to hear from you.
Hello, everybody. It's so good to be here. Thank you so much, Micah, for inviting me. So my name is Christina, and I am an embodiment guide and performance artist. And I help both women and men to cultivate a greater sense of mind-body awareness, emotional intelligence, and freedom of self-expression through expressive arts, therapy-based workshops, and online programs, and one-on-one work as well. Wow, it's been quite a journey, to be honest. My business is called Authentic Embodiment, and it's been evolving for the past 3 years. I started working with women first to help them to get in touch with their bodies and their sensuality. And I am absolutely living the life of my dreams. And my business is making it possible for me to travel around the world and live in different places. And I facilitate workshops and anywhere I go. So, and with the pandemic, Tulum is a place where I can host group workshops. So it's been amazing. And as I said, my business has been evolving for the past 3 years, and I started working with women. But then I felt the call to open it up and start working both with men and women, because I saw how healing those practices are, and I just want everyone to feel that connection with their bodies and to feel creatively expressed and authentically embodied, and just that aliveness. And before WINC, I was already hosting women's circles, but I was making very little money. And with being in the WINC program really helped me to set the foundation of my finances. And I became friends with numbers. So having like the spreadsheets and see the cash flow, and to separate my personal expenses and my business expenses, and just to be aware of the revenue stream. It's been very, very helpful for me. And during the WINC program, which was in 2019, I developed my first online program. So that was the beginning of me shifting my attention to online space. And now I have my second online program that it's specifically based in art therapy. And it's been going very well. It's available for both men and women, as I said. And my revenue growth is almost 5 times. So it's amazing. It feels like a very slow growth, to be honest, but it's like when I actually looked at the numbers, I was amazed myself. So it's really, really inspiring, and it just gets me going, like just keep showing up and serving the world. Yeah.
Wow, Christina, I am so moved by feeling. So when we get this replay, we're gonna share images of your incredible work during your sharing, because your art is so beautiful and your dance is so beautiful. And I'm just so moved by your artistry and your healer, like meeting the numbers and meeting like almost like a ground, like where numbers bring ground into your beautiful fountain of creativity and embodiment. It's just so powerful. And feeling you track your revenue and know that you've grown 5x. It's so big.
Yes. I'm celebrating myself, and I'm celebrating all the women in this group. Yeah. I think another big takeaway from this program is that I really started celebrating myself and women, just like genuine the feeling of joy and celebration of my sisters. Just like hearing everyone's story is just like a balm to my heart. So thank you.
Yes, thank you too. Thank you so much. And you're 2 years in since the WINC program, and it's like there's always more to do. There's always more to grow, right? And yet you celebrating where along the way, it's so powerful, Christina. Thank you so much. Okay, Betsy, I see your video on. Would you go next?
And let's have all the panelists come back on video. If you're able, ladies. Great.
So I was a part of WINC, I think the same year as Sarah Jane in 2014. And at the time I was actually working on a different business than what I do now. But what I learned from being in WINC, what still really sticks with me is the aspect of having structure, having a plan that you come back to, having goals and intentions that you're not constantly changing, but constantly revising and improving. And the marketing aspect of it for the business that I was working on really helped me understand the importance of marketing, which is not, like many of us, it's not my strong suit. It's not something that I love to go out and talk about myself. But when Micah is constantly encouraging us to tell everybody what we do and really hone in on that, that was a huge influence for me. And in my business now, which is an accounting business that I work with other small businesses to be sure that they have a strong financial foundation. And since my business world shifted into this iteration, I actually haven't had to market my business at all. It's all been word of mouth, which is just an aspect of living in Boulder for almost 30 years. But they are principles that at a point that I still see as possible in my business, at a point that I do start to market again, they are all important foundational pieces that I'll continue to use. And with one of the things that struck me with something that Christina said is all the spreadsheets and all that kind of thing, like that's my world. I probably dream in spreadsheets. And the aspect also of something that Sarah Jane said of hiring an assistant so that you have skills that it's the whole reason you're bringing this work into the world, but you can't do everything. You're not great at everything. And there's an aspect of that I remember as I'm managing my own business, but that's also an aspect to how I talk to potential clients. Like, I'm the person that actually likes to look at spreadsheets, and I can then translate those things so that you can understand the numbers of your business, how important it is to keep an eye on these things, what you need to look at, all that kind of thing. So it's an important point in managing a business, but can also be really helpful in how you present yourself to the world.
So cool, Betsy. Yeah, so Betsy is amazing you're a bookkeeper right now?
Yeah, I use the broader term of accounting. I don't do tax returns, but basically everything up to that point.
Yeah, awesome. And she's such an amazing resource in this community, except that her business is so full that none of us can get in. If you want to work with Betsy, get on her waiting list now, because but Betsy, one of the things that I'm curious about remembering, what I remember, right? And so correct me anywhere that I'm wrong, is that you had a career in corporate. You had like a whole corporate career as an accountant. And then I think it was the financial crisis maybe where things shifted.
Yeah, so I was involved more in financial and investment side of the world. I actually was not an accountant.
Okay, great.
But that's kind of where the numbers part of it comes from.
Yeah. And so you were a single mom. Is that right?
Still am.
And still
Except that
are.
now he's in college.
Great. He was little then. I know, it's crazy.
Yep.
But tell us what has shifted for you from being like a 9-to-5 corporate single mom to being a business owner single mom. Like, what's that been like?
It's been fantastic. Not having to have care for my son after school and being able to go to school to see things or be there for sporting events, and having that flexibility within my schedule has been something that I mean, it also has involved me working on the weekends or working as he's doing homework and that kind of thing. So there's the flexibility though, and never having somebody tell me that I have to be in the office at 8 a.m. is something I will never give that up. I'll never work for somebody else again, except for the 70 people that I work for on a daily basis.
Oh my God, who feels like that? I am officially unemployable.
Yes.
Unless I have a boss that tells me I can do whatever I want whenever I want it, I will not have a boss.
And continue to pay me twice as much every year.
Right, totally. Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Betsy. It's so beautiful. One of the things I want to also highlight from the beginning of what you said, because I said this yesterday at the very end of our business training portion, was my experience is that learning these business skills and learning how to approach a business systematically and strategically, and to be able to break a big vision down into its parts and then implement over time. Like, I feel like I can create anything actually, like now, because there's like a skill set that goes into creating a big vision. And I kind of heard that in the beginning where you were like, I was working on this other business, but then I learned these skills that I just transferred to a different idea. And that's the idea that I ended up going with. And I think that's really important for two things. Like, we don't always stay with the same business, right? Like, it might ultimately be a stepping stone, and that's really natural and common, but the skill set is actually the same no matter what you're trying to build. And so that goes along with you.
For sure. Yep.
Yeah. Does anyone else on the panel feel like you could really build anything at this point? Like, you could totally change your business idea or do something else and you would be like, you would know what to do and how to do it? Yeah, a couple heads nodding. Thank you, Betsy. Awesome. We have 2 more introductions. And Dana, would you go next?
Hi, I'm Dana Stillman. It's super fun to circle back with WINC. I went through the WINC 90-day program, I think end of 2014, beginning of 2015. So kind of been a while, but my company is Inspire Graphic Design. I'm a graphic designer and specialize in brand development. So logo development, print, web, all of that. And my clients are typically small to medium-sized businesses, nonprofit organizations, and entities within universities. And really what I do, similar to Micah, is I create a bridge for investment. And people want to invest in businesses that have invested in themselves. And I think that's my biggest power. I do that a couple different ways in terms of creating a visual design, whether that's a logo or print, web, anything that is visually communicating. It's sort of like when you wear a new outfit to work and you're just like rocking it that day, right? It might be like the worst business day, but you look good and everyone around you is just kind of like, yeah, you're looking good today. You know, it's kind of like that. It just gives people a confidence about how they present themselves out in the world and in the marketplace. And then the second thing I do is to help people really communicate effectively around what they do. And one of the things I've learned through the 11 years I've been in business for myself is really creating a website, print materials, even down to a tagline. There's a really important strategy around how you're communicating. And that's a really hard thing to hone in on, especially for yourself. That was the hardest thing for myself going through the WINC program, is how do I talk about myself? Betsy, you just mentioned that. So anyway, really help clients pull all of that together and just be able to give them the tools to go out in the world and really have confidence and know how to communicate about what their offerings are. I started my business in 2010, and I started off with a lot of success. I was busy, I had clients, I was doing what I wanted to do. But around that 4-year mark, I felt like my income was just a little bit static. There wasn't a lot of growth. I wasn't quite sure how to grow it from what I was doing because I was busy. I had clients, I had referrals. I did have a pipeline. And I was introduced to Micah through a friend of mine who had gone through her course. And I decided to jump in. And I think the 90-day program for me did a couple of things. One is my favorite analogy, is when I started my business, it was like taking a bag of marbles and dumping it on my dining room table, and they all sort of roll off in various elements in the corners and under the carpet, and a few go down the heater vent, you know, that kind of thing. And Micah's program really helped me pull many of those marbles back into the bag. And that relates a lot to how I was selling. I was really trading time for money. So she helped me figure out how to really package my services and look at profitability versus just making that hourly wage. And then the second thing was really helping me confront some other barriers of wealth, which for me was my relationship to money. I had a pretty screwed up relationship with money, especially as a woman. I mean, we come into this world, right, with our patriarchy stress disorder, and, you know, we've never been paid historically. So really learning about what it is to sell value versus what you think your dollar amount is worth. And there's really this bigger picture and some deep dive for me in that process. So yeah, so when I took the course in, I think between the end of 2014 and the end of 2015, so after I had taken Micah's course, my income increased by 24%, which I felt was pretty significant because I was making a good amount of money at the time. And since 2014 to today, it's increased about 60%. And there's been a lot going on in those 6 years, 7 years since Micah's course. However, everything I learned there really set the foundation for what I've been able to do since then. And I constantly circle back, and I'm still using the same tools that came out of Micah's program today. And it's so easy because all I do is just update them. And I'm like, you know what? I think this year I need to make more money on logos, or I think I need to, you know, make more money on whatever it is. And it's just like, boop, nobody says boo, no one knows the difference, and it's just done and done. So thank you, Micah, for helping me in my business. And it's been a really amazing journey.
Oh my gosh, it's so fun to see you and hear from you and be with you again. There's so much I'm inspired by in what you're saying. You know, that last piece, I think, so reading between the lines, one of the things I think you're saying, Dana, is like you had 24% growth after the first year of WINC. And then since then, you just continued to grow. But you've also continued to learn from other people. So you like have the tools from WINC, but you also continued this business learning journey, right? is I think partly what you're saying. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I've continued the journey. I plug into you guys every now and again and see what you're up to. But I also, part of just building that income is going back to those tools and the spreadsheets and being like, selling the value. It's really selling value. And to be able to adjust that value throughout the years is just super simple. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to write a huge, explanation. I don't have to explain it to anybody. I just do it. And pretty awesome.
It's so awesome. So there's two things I want to highlight there. One is that I think once you realize how profound learning business skills is, you want to keep learning, and the learning never ends, right? Like even Elizabeth, we're 10 years in, we're still learning. Like we're always learning, we're always experimenting, we're always evolving, we're always doing things we haven't done before, like a panel on Zoom. Anyway, but the other thing too that I feel like I hear in your coming back to the spreadsheets again and again is like it becomes so creative, like business becomes creative and numbers become really creative. Like we literally can paint our future with numbers on paper.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool.
Yeah.
So cool. It's so cool. And the other thing I want to say, Dana, is like, and I'm just sort of shooting the shit with you a little bit around your industry, but I think for the early years of WINC, I really felt like I saw a lot of people spending an enormous amount of time and expense on their website, but they actually didn't really know what they were selling yet. And so it was sort of ineffective, and it was like their attention was in the wrong place.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't focus much on my website, and I had a really rinky-dink website, and I focused on the product and making sure it was really helpful. And I taught about that. And I still think that that's true, but there also came a point when I was like, okay, I'm actually losing by not focusing on our brand. Like we are actually now at a point where if we don't show a different level of visual sophistication in what we're doing, we're going to no longer be relevant, or we're like losing people because of it. And so I really think that what you do as a web designer and that investment side is very powerful. And your analogy around you just feel good with that new outfit is really relevant. And there's a right stage of business for it. Sometimes it's at the beginning for certain businesses. Sometimes it's a year or two in once you know what your business is.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I do remember sort of you having that theory, and it's great that you were able to sort of just go on that journey, because I do agree that my services aren't a right fit for everyone, depending on the time or where they are in their business or what their goals are. But it's cool to hear you say that you did get to go through that journey and experience that. And there is data that says design-driven businesses have a higher bottom line than non-design driven businesses. So yeah, it's totally pretty cool. And I love to get to do that and help people with it. So totally.
Yeah. Beauty matters.
Beauty
if
matters.
we didn't have beauty in the world, like it wouldn't be a very great world to live in. So, thank you so much, Dana.
Thank you.
And last but not least, Marielle. I am so happy to have you here. She was in the very first WINC program that I ever ran. I didn't even know if it was going to work, but somehow it managed to sell out, and then it was a big experiment. And Marielle, tell us about your business. Tell us about your journey.
Hi, everybody. My name is Marielle, and my business is called Young in the Mountains. I'm a fine jewelry company, and we create jewelry that represents love. I'm located here in Denver, and I met Micah maybe 10 years ago when I was starting my entrepreneurship journey. I was 10 years younger, and I knew that I wanted to be my own boss, and I hadn't really had any good women leadership business examples. Coming from an art and creative background, it was more about creating product and not really understanding why or how it was going to be introduced to the world. And going through WINC helped me realize that I have everything I need to be successful. And the number one thing is curiosity and having a drive. And I think being in WINC and being surrounded by other women really activated that in me. And I continue to learn every day, and my creativity and curiosity is my greatest resources. So I employ 7 women, and it's incredible to keep that women only community around me. I had never done a women's only event in my entire life before I met Micah and WINC. And now I seek them out like candy, because nothing soothes and inspires like other women. Some of the numbers I want to share, because being in WINC taught me about numbers and how creative they can be, and how inspiring they can be, and soothing, because we talked once before about how as women we have really great intuition, but without numbers to back up the intuition, you're always left with a little bit of doubt in yourself, whether or not you truly know the right answer. And I always look at numbers to reinforce my intuition. I think numbers and getting familiar with data has been the best thing I've ever done. I say multiple times a week in my job, data-driven decisions. I don't make decisions on a whim anymore. I make decisions based on data, and because I do so, I've grown my business into 7 figures. When I started with WINC in the numbers between 2014 and 2015, when I worked the year after Micah, I had 300% growth in my business when it was just me. It was just me for a really long time. But like I said, now I employ 7, and I've learned to care for those women, and I've learned the importance of communicating clearly with my team, and also communicating clearly with my audience. I just did a really scary price raise last week, but because I communicated my value, I was received in such a way that was so unexpected, to tell everyone that I'm about to get even more expensive as a fine jeweler. But in doing so, I'm providing paid, maternity leave and paid time off and disability insurance to the women who helped me. My audience received me with applause and even more orders than I could have even imagined the day after I raised prices. It was amazing. And I think communicating clearly and having confidence, because you're understanding data and understanding yourself and loving yourself, it's been amazing.
I'm so moved, Marielle. I hope you don't mind me sharing this, but one of the things
not at all.
left out to just really highlight the arc of this is that when we met Marielle, she was a waitress making her jewelry, and her best month would be like $300 a month in jewelry sales. And she, within that first year after the program, no longer a waitress, had a real business that was paying for her life, making her jewelry, and now she's 7 figures, sharing all this goodness. 7 employees. She's a mom, and I just am so moved. I'm so moved. It's so beautiful, Marielle.
Yeah, the right people at the right time can do magic things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I love the example, Marielle. I've totally got choked up when you said paid maternity leave and paid all these things. Like, when we come to possess more wealth as women, I mean, think of all the lives of her employees and her employees' families and her employees' communities that are being impacted by her being a good leader. Hi, Jessica. It's just so beautiful.
So beautiful.
I think so too.
And again, I keep hearing from so many of you the power of numbers, and I'm so excited that that's such a common theme. Betsy, that's your whole world, and you can help people who need hand-holding in that process. But the rest of you have also really taken that and run with it and developed that skill. And Yeah, I'm personally really touched right now because I'm really feeling my mom, who was an accountant for my dad's business, and where I got numbers from her in a particular way, and like the ripple that she is actually having here. I'm just really touched. So, oh my gosh, thank you so much. We have a few minutes for either any of the panelists to like open up a topic or discussion, or if there's any questions from our audience now that you've heard from all these ladies and felt each of them in their journey.
It would be great too if you all want to share your websites in the chat.
Yes.
If you need a bookkeeper, if you need a nutritionist, if you want to check out Dana's graphic design, Christina's beautiful offerings. I'm not sure if you're doing them online right now. And of course, Mariel's amazing jewelry. Please put those links in chat.
Yeah, anyone from our audience want to make a comment or have a question, you're welcome to come online with audio or put it into chat. I'd love to hear if you like having a panel of women like this and getting to hear about their journey, and also any questions you have for them.
I would like to say something to everyone who's contemplating making an investment in yourself, because I remember the first time I met Micah and what the class cost was more than I had. And I borrowed money to get it. Well, I remember it was, and it was the best money I ever spent. Like now it showed me that one time, that investment in myself, I could keep doing it, and I do it all the time now. But I remember I was really nervous to spend money on myself. Ooh. But I'm so glad I did it. And now when I think about the number I spent, it's like it hardly means anything now to what I spend in business every day. And it just is a nice reminder of never be afraid to invest in yourself.
So beautiful, Mariel. I so relate.
I always cry around you, Micah.
Maybe because I'm over here falling.
Yeah.
Mariel, thank you. It's so scary to invest in ourselves. It is. It's scary. And if we show up for that investment, it can completely transform who we are and everything about our lives. Because I'm curious for panelists, maybe this will be our closing, kind of consideration, but like when I look at the process that I've gone through and that I see other women go through, it's like on the surface, it looks like we're building a business. But like the deeper thing is that it's like we're becoming like either new versions of ourselves or like actually different people. Like we're actually shape shifting into a different person who has a different present and a different internal landscape and a different external reality and a whole different future available. Do any of you feel like that has been part of your journey?
I feel like probably every single one of us in this chat or wherever we are, virtual or text, our businesses are an extension of ourselves. And that is the power that we have and the call to action, I think, that we have on this planet right now with everything that is evolving and hurting and all the pain we've gone through as a society. We're being called to action, to come forward and bring ourselves into this world and offer our services. And it's important. So I just want all of you that have done it to feel good about having done it. Obviously, the panelists, you're here and you know that. And those of you guys that are thinking about it, the time is now. Jump in, don't wait. make this world a better place, because this world needs more women and more women-led businesses.
Oh, so agree with that. Yes. Huge.
Thank you all so much for being here, both those of you who are here present, listening, and in witness to these incredible women and their journeys, and those of you who just shared of yourself and your journey, and all of those who are watching after the fact. Thank you so much for just being here to celebrate each other. And for anyone that is just arriving, welcome. We have a whole nother panel happening, and we're so excited for that. We'll take like a 2-minute bio break to just let women go to the bathroom or get a tea or whatever. And then we'll start again with another group of 5 extraordinary women who we just had the privilege of working with the last few months, and who are the women we just heard from have been in business for years, and we've known them for years, and they got to tell this like big arc of their story. And now we're going to hear women who just went through WINC's program and what it's like coming out, like, you know, just kind of almost like just birthed. So thank you for those of you who have been here with us on the panel.
Thank you, Micah.
Thanks, Micah.
And somehow we all ended up being blonde. So I guess this was like the blonde WINC panel. 5 gorgeous blondes. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Micah.
Bye, guys.